Well guys, today we're going to build on this 5.9 Cummins. It's the second gen Cummins, and I've got some of the parts back and cleaned up now, so I've still got to clean up some gaskets and stuff like that. But this is the P pump, the P7100 injection pump. It's the big bad boy, weighs about a ton, and then some of the other miscellaneous parts that I'm going to have to build this motor with. Whenever you drive your seal out, you got to make sure you stay on the just barely on the inside lip of your seal. Try not to drive on the outer part of your seal, because you'll end up getting into this aluminum piece here. If you get into this aluminum piece here, you're going to nick it, and then your rear main's going to leak on the outside of your seal. So that's pretty much the easy part of the job, is driving the seal out. This is the housing for the rear main seal, and I've got it all cleaned up and everything. And as you can see, somebody's changed this rear main out at one time or another. There's a nice little nick right down here in the bottom, and that's how come whenever you drive these seals out, you need to stay right away from that rear main housing, because it's real easy to nick it. As you can see, I drove it out right there. Whoever drove it out before drove it out on the edge right here, and that's how they nick the cover. Just be careful whenever you drive the seal out. And of course I use my little die grinder with a wire brush wheel on it to clean this up. And you guys heard me say a million times in my videos, make sure you wear your safety glasses. This is the outcome of things. If you don't have your safety glasses on and that wicker would go in your eye to put your eye out. Like I said, that flew out of that die grinder and stuck in my arm right there. So just make sure you wear your safety glasses. Let's drive this seal in here. On these rear main seals, this side here is going to go towards the crankshaft, and that's what keeps your oil from going on the outside of your motor there. If you got the seal in backwards and you drive it in there, it's just going to dump your oil right out of the motor. So make sure you get your seal drove in the right way, and make sure you do it right the first time, because they're pretty expensive if you go out and buy them individually. This here's the tool that I'm going to use to drive the seal in with. This here is a seal with a plastic sleeve in it. We're going to leave this plastic sleeve in there until we get this seal over the top of the crankshaft. Then we'll come back and pull this seal off the crankshaft, this plastic inner seal here. It keeps the seal spread apart so it can be slid over the crankshaft. So as you can see, this seal's now drove in there. I've got this front cover cleaned up and everything. It is 100% grease free, and after I was done cleaning it up, I did spray it down with a little bit of brake parts cleaner, because it gets your gaskets nice and clean, your gasket surfaces nice and clean without any dust or debris. And then I put half the front cover gasket on. I got a shellac on the back side of this gasket. I'm going to let it get nice and tacky, and then come back and put the shellac on the front side, and then put the cover on. And I got the bolts for the motor organized up here. I don't have new head bolts yet. The head bolts are on order. Cummins recommend that if you pull the head off, don't reuse the head bolts, get new head bolts. And from Cummins, they're about $70 for new head bolts. Well, I've got the front cover set on the motor now, and there's been quite a few people ask me what the purpose of the killer dowel pin is. Well, there's two dowel pins in the front of a Cummins on the first and second gen Cummins here, and this is the one killer dowel pin that we'll have to build the tab, make our own little tab that covers that killer dowel pin so it can't work out. Is what these two dowel pins are for. You can't see this other one, but it never has a chance of working out, because it's actually the pin goes into the cover. Is what those dowel pins are for. It's basically like an alignment tool for this front cover, so you can get it true, centered, and squared, so where you have the perfect gear lash off your injection pump and your power steering pump gear to the rest of your gears. So that's what that pin's for. Because the bolt holes are a little bit bigger, and the dowel pins make it absolutely precise, you know, whenever everything lines up. So that's the purpose of the killer dowel pin there. And I'm going to get some bolts, so we're going to bolt this front cover on now. well, is what I've done here so far. There's 5 bolts on the inside of this cover here. This bolt here where I got to build this tab for this killer dowel pin, I have not put Loctite on that one because I'm going to pull the bolt back out later on and build that tab for the killer dowel pin. But these other 4 bolts that are in here, I've already put Loctite on them, and it's the blue Loctite. And these torque down to 18 pounds. So I've got a couple extra bolts in this gear cover here to torque this cover down so I can get the gasket to seat right. Later on I'll pull these couple extra bolts back out when I go to put the front cover on the front of the motor here. And this is the oil pump. Is what I've done is run a little bit of machine oil all the way around the back side of the oil pump here. Next thing I'm going to do before I put the bolts in is use a little bit of blue Loctite, because it is in front of the motor, and vibration is kind of a killer on motors, and if you have a bolt fall out, it's going to destroy everything in the front side of this motor. So it's just best to put a little bit of blue Loctite on your bolts before you go in with all of them there. So I've got the 4 bolts ran into the pump here. And once this pump's torqued correctly, this pump, this part of the pump right here should not be touching the block back here. There should be a little bit of a space. If there's a little bit of a gap, that's how it's supposed to be. So 4 pounds is about 48 inch-pounds. So I don't have an inch-pound torque wrench, so we're just going to go 4 pounds, and that's going to be exactly 48 inch-pounds. And you want to go catty corner on these. So the next step is going to be to torque this thing down 10 pounds. Okay. The next step is going to be 14 pounds, which is about 168 inch-pounds. The next torque step is going to be 18 foot-pounds, which is about 216 inch-pounds. So that's it for the oil pump. So I've got the motor on the hoist right now, that's why it's wiggling around here. And I've got my gasket and shellac on there. And I put a little bit of machine oil on the backside of the crankshaft here. So the next step that goes on there like that. And then here comes a plastic ring out. So now I'm going to torque these down to 8 pounds. I just got my torque wrench set up, so we're going to go 8 pounds on these. So now we're going to put the motor back on the stand and go from there, guys. This shellac is pretty nasty stuff. It's hard to get off your hands. So what I'm going to do is, since once again this is the inside of the motor and I really don't ever want this pickup screen to fall off there, I'm going ahead and put just a dab of Loctite on these bolts for the oil pickup screen. So the oil suction braces are going to be torqued at 18 pounds, and the oil tube flange is going to be torqued at 18 pounds. So let's change this here. Well guys, appreciate you stopping by and watching the video. I'm sorry it's kind of noisy out here. I've got the garage door open here in the front, and you're hearing all the road noise going back and forth. Can't run the air conditioner because then you can't hear what's going on. So I'm kind of suffering here a little bit. 108 degrees outside. Pretty hot in here too as well. That's why I'm kind of covered in sweat here. But we'll keep on going on this build as I get parts. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. We'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye.